leading the running back charge. Notre Dame's Jeremiyah Love is far and away the top running back heading into the 2025 college football season, and here's why.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers, guys. We are talking running backs. Jeremiyah Love, the star for Notre Dame, is now entering the season potentially as RB1 for the 2026 NFL Draft. We're going to talk about his game and his skill set. Makai Hughes goes from Tulane to Oregon. Is he the new RB1 for Oregon? And does he remind us of a guy that was drafted in the second round of the 2025 NFL Draft? And then Desmond Reed, that small jitterbug running back that can kind of play that slot receiver role. That's what he looks like on tape. We'll talk about his game as well. But before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Keith, Jeremiyah Love, 6 foot even, 212, 215 pounds. Guy coming off of a playoff run with Notre Dame last year.
Yep.
Had a successful season, man. 162 carries, 1,124 yards rushing, 19 total touchdowns. And the first thing that pops off the tape is speed and explosiveness. This is a home run hitter if I've ever seen one, Keith. I'll make a bold statement right now.
Here we go.
I think if he was in this past draft class with Omarion Hampton, with Ashton Genty, with Travion Henderson, right, with R.J. Hart, he would have been the most explosive back right there with Travion Henderson. I think those would have been the top two for me in terms of pure top end speed and explosiveness. There isn't one thing I wrote down for him is he is an angle beater. This dude, there's runs where he hits the hole and you got a safety upfield and he just outruns the angle. And the safety has a great angle on him. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, 10, 15 yards is done. And you just see him just continue to pick up speed and just starts to glide. And I'm like, okay, this is going to the house. And I'm like, wow. And we talked about yesterday's pod. We're talking about Michael Kamara in Indiana's defense. He had a game against Indiana where he had, I think it was like a 90 some odd yard run. In that he literally, I think he might have got hurt in that game. He only had 8 carries, but he had 108 yards in the touchdown. Yes, he had a 98-yard run in that game and everything. And it's just the speed, the explosiveness. I appreciate the tempo and pacing. The phrase is, slow too fast through. He's a patient runner. Like, he'll wait for the lane to open up, but when you have that level of burst and acceleration, you kind of can do that. Like, you can kind of wait for it to open up and then hit it. And he goes from 0 to 60 in less than 5 seconds. You know what I mean? And he's one of those. If he was a car, he'd be one of those cars Dominique Toretto and Paul Walker would be trying to jack on on the movie, man. So I look at him. I think this is a guy. He catches the ball fairly well out the backfield. He doesn't do a lot of route running type stuff. They didn't ask him to do that. And I wonder now with CJ Carr coming in, more projection, more of a true pocket pass. I won't say he can't move, but like an actual passer compared to what Riley Leonard was used as. I wonder if we get more opportunities in the passing game for Jeremiyah Love. But for me, Keith, I think he's got a clear runway and path to being the RB1 heading into the college football season, and he's a hard runner too, like 6 foot, 215.
That was the thing I was going to jump in and say is that he finishes runs. Again, I think it was a game against USC, I believe, where he hurdled a guy, got back down on his feet, right, and then ran full speed into another defender, right, and was like, you know what, I'm gonna finish this thing. I think I have this shirt on, DP. I'm pretty sure my shirt says it, right? It says fearless, right? So for those on YouTube, that's what I get from him. I get fearless, because he hits a hole, right? Like you said, slow too and quick through, but it's quick, explosive, decisive. All of the ices, with, like all of them, right? He does all of them. And in a very good way, right? Like that's what you want your running back, not to be timid. And you keep thinking about these zone type of schemes. He can do really well with that, right? Like you're talking about inside zone, outside zone, because he can be utilized as a one cut back, but instead of a one cut back, get downhill. And sometimes we say that with those kind of power backs or backs that like we question their footwork. No, he can be a one cut back, because if that backside linebacker is slow or late getting there, or if he's too quick getting there, and Jeremiyah Love has already cut it back, your defense has a problem.
Right.
Do you? The one thing I struggle with, and then it's not with his game at all, it's just part of the process. Was a comp for him. I was trying to think of an NFL guy. I know you mentioned Travion Henderson, from the perspective of
the burst acceleration.
Just the burst. I was trying to find a comp, and I thought about who I did think about is he aligns with these type of backs, but I like him more. And there was a lot of conversation about Breece Hall, right? And Breece Hall's explosiveness. I like Jeremiyah Love better because I think he operates better in between the tackles. And DP, I mean, that was what our first year at Draft Network. And I think me and you were kind of on the same page, right? Like he kind of more of a third round
grade
type of guy. But I like Jeremiyah Love better. I actually think he may be more explosive. I don't know what the 40 times are going to be, but this guy is electric, and the speed is not getting me in the open speed. I'm gonna create it, right? Like it's explosive immediately. And so that's why with Jeremiyah Love, I'm like, wow, this is a really cool player. Do you see him as so first of all, the comp, and do you see him as a RB1 is a conversation?
Yeah, so the comp is it's a little tough because trying to think about guys with similar builds and athleticism.
Yeah,
the guy he didn't get to the league, but he reminded me a little bit of him, and I was so hurt because I think he might have had a heart issue. And he played for Penn State. His name was Journey Brown. Brown was 5'11", 217. He was going to be, I can't remember which draft that was when he was coming out. But because he played, like the last year he played was 2019. So I think it was going to be the 2020 draft or the 2021 draft, and he couldn't play. It was supposed to be a 2021 draft, I think. He couldn't come out. He didn't play again for 2020 because of COVID and because of the heart issue. And this was a guy that he was a little bit more densely built, like thicker lower halves, but speed, power, footwork. That was kind of my comp form. It was more of like college prospect comp. Until I think of but the Breece Hall one I do like, because I think, to your point, I think Breece is a little bit more elusive. Breece is more finesse, where Jeremy will 100% run through your face. Like he's a crash out. Like he'll run straight through your face without a question. Like if it's you and him for that first down or for that touchdown, or he's lowering the shoulder and he is driving through you, and that's just what it is. Breece might try to juke you. You know what I mean? Like Breece is a good player, and then Breece is more of a. I think I said this last year. I felt like Breece, in between him and Braylon Allen, I was like, I wouldn't be against the Jets using Braylon Allen as the heavy down runner and using Breece as the pass catcher, because he's so good in space and with the ball in his hands and different things like that. They just have to create as a runner. You have to create a lot more for Breece in terms of running lanes and things like that. Where I look at Jeremiyah, there was one play, I think it was against Navy. He's like pressing the gap. Linebacker shoots down to fill it, and his peripheral vision, he sees it, stops, cuts, makes the guy miss, and then accelerates. I don't think his start ability as a running back, when you can do these type of things, like you put so much pressure on. Keith, you can talk to this. Defensively, you put so much pressure on the run fits when you have that type of speed and explosiveness, and not just the wide zone stuff that we see from a lot of guys, but then, like you said, to run the inside zone, to run some of the power stuff between the tackles, to where if your linebackers don't fill when they're supposed to fill, oh yeah, it could get dark. really fast because this is a guy that will then break contain. And once he hits the sideline, now it's a track meet. And this might be I think he's 4.4 at worst. This might be a 4.3 type of like low four, like high 4.3s, 4.37, 4.38, somewhere in there, top end speed. I think his 10-yard split's gonna be ridiculous. You know what I mean? When it comes down to the combine and everything, just have a natural speed standpoint.
I have one other name, and you should be familiar with, like extremely familiar, because he's in your neck of the woods. Chuba Hubbard. How does he comp to that?
He's because a lot of people don't remember Chuba ran for like 2,000 yards at Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah.
Then he came back. Everybody's like, "Why are you going back to school?" Instead of coming out, he was going he had a second round tag for a lot of people in certain teams, and he's like, he thought he was going to try to get himself in the first round. Went back to school, he ended up getting hurt. Chuba has developed into that power runner. He's like the engine of the Panthers offense. He gives Bryce that run game, that play action. He helps him settle in, and he's kind of bulked up a little bit too. Like so, like he's still got the top. He's still got good speed, but he's handling more between the tackles duty now. Very similar, I think. You know, with what Chuba was in his peak at Oklahoma State, was a little bit leaner. That's
what he is now. Yeah, and
yeah.
The reason I said that is because Chuba has developed into a RB1, right? And
I paid everything.
Yeah, and that was the part that kind of I struggled with Jeremiyah Love, was that, and that I think he could be RB1, right? Like usually these slashers, explosive types that come out of the backfield, we look at more of those guys as like, okay, cool, you're probably going to be not RB2, but you're going to have a certain role, right, within the offense. But Jeremiyah Love runs hard enough to where you like, I think
he's a complete threat to me.
Like you sit there and you say, you know what, I think you can do it, and it's similar to like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Where you think, okay, this guy could be a role, but you're like, honestly, if we give him the carries, this guy can put up some crazy numbers. If he's the lone running back in the backfield. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. We have a Tulane transfer. He is on his way to Oregon, man. The days of the transfer portal, DP. We get a running back from Tulane going to be RB1 for Oregon. We're going to talk about Makai Hughes coming up next.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the bright lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling for your liking? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You hate to see it. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet, so you don't want to miss out. And how can you avoid missing out? Very simple. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or go and visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Oregon's new RB1 is a transfer from Tulane. They lost their starting quarterback and their starting running back. Man, the transfer portal is a dirty place in college football, Keith. But Makai Hughes has an NFL build and body type, 5'11", 210 pounds. He's coming off a season with 263 carries, 1,400 yards rushing, 17 total touchdowns. And when you look at just from a statistic standpoint, I'm not surprised Oregon won them, Keith. He's coming off back-to-back years, over 1,300 yards, and both from 2023 to 2024, both years, he averaged the exact same amount of yards per carry at 5.3. He just upped his rushing touchdowns. From 2023, he had 7 to 2024, he had 15. He runs with low center of gravity. He runs with good strength. Contact balance is there, but he's got good speed and burst and explosiveness. And he reminds me a little bit of Travion in the sense of being that explosive player in space where you could throw the ball to him, because he can make plays with the ball in his hands. And as a functional, like I never felt like Travion was like the Jahmyr Gibbs comps were way out of left field to me, where Jahmyr Gibbs runs routes like a slot receiver.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
People would just wanted to comp to like the next thing they thought was gonna be hot.
I don't know if we're gonna see another Jameer, or when we see another Jameer Gibbs that can do the things that he does with the athletic profile that he has. Like, special dude, man. So like, I was like, I don't see that with Travion, but like, I think that when I look at Makai Hughes, I think he's patient. He's got good vision. Again, that contact balance, that low center of gravity plays so well into his favor, and understanding like you got to get low man wins, and he might be 5'10", he might be 5'9". You know what I mean? He might be 5'9", but nonetheless, I'm typically lower. He'll lower his shoulder, lower that head to try and empower through for extra yards. I think this young man is about to. I don't think a lot of people don't know about it. Same way they didn't know about his quarterback. You know, Darian Mensah, like, until you hear about the NIL money he got and going to Duke. This is an opportunity for Makai. You know, Jordan James went to the NFL, got drafted, right? And Oregon has been putting running backs in the league now. Jordan James, Bucky Irvin. You know what I mean? Like, they've been doing their thing with it. I think Makai Hughes is the next one, Keith. I think he's going to be the next Oregon running back to be drafted and have a nice role. I think he's in for a big year, especially because you got Dante Moore coming in as his first time starting with them. He hasn't started or played heavy football since his freshman year at UCLA. So they're probably going to do the same thing they did with Dylan Gabriel. Get him rolling with the run game. Once the Oregon last year got Jordan James going, then Dylan Gabriel took a step forward because it wasn't just trying to true drop back pass every time. It was, hey, let's play balanced football.
I was going to make that same exact point that even with Dylan, they ran the football early on, right? And that was a key part. And just their head coach, Dan Lanning, he going to run the ball, SEC guy, right? Like, he comes from that Nick Saban, Kirby Smart tree, right? Where they're going to try to run the football at the end of the day. With Makai Hughes, DP, I'll start with a general comp first. I seen some Noshawn Marino in him, and that was the first name that came to me. And Noshawn may have not had the NFL career that we thought, right? But as far as a college prospects, he's one of the better running backs, right? And I think
100%.
If I'm not mistaken, he went the back end of the first round. I want to say he went the back end of the first round. But really good football player, DP. I like the contact balance, the compact frame that he has, right? Like, he's one of those guys just, seems to be always falling forward, but not in a rumbling type way, right? Like, he has good footwork overall, but his pads are leaning forward, which that's what you want from running back. I think he can be scheme versatile, DP. I think he can run some zone. He can run some gap power schemes. I thought he had pretty good vision as a running back. I think he should be a plug and play guy in the NFL, right? Like, if you start him, you should be able to start him and draft him as your running back. Do you think with him obviously taking a step up in competition, do you think there'll be a regression, or you think this is one of those backs or just players, period, to where their talent, it projects, right? Like what he did in the AAC, he'll be able to do in the Big Ten.
The Big Ten. I think so. I think his skill set is translatable. I think it translates and transfers over. But then not only are you going up in competition, you're going to be surrounded by better talent. You know what I mean? Better offensive line, more NFL, like Oregon's laden with NFL guys, right? And I do think he's going to get the touches. They lost Evan Stewart, who's supposed to be their returning star receiver. I believe it. I can't remember what injury he had, but during I think spring training and stuff like that. This spring, he's out for the year already. You know what I mean? So Evan Stewart, who went back, who could have entered this past draft, he went back to school.
Because I thought that was a guy that had all of the makings with a good pre-draft profile, like just that I guess draft season, right? Hitting the combine, things like that. He could have made himself into a second round pick. And 100%. Projecting him, I was probably gonna have him as a top 5 wide receiver in this class for sure.
Yeah, he suffered a knee injury, so it's like it looks like he's going to be more than likely out for the season, just tough. And that sucks, man. It's tough, prayers up for Evan Stewart that he heals up and he gets an opportunity, another opportunity to be able to come back, whether it's a medical red shirt, whatever. Heck, Cam Rising, I think, is still in college, and he's like 30 years old. You know what I mean? He's at multiple medical red shirts at this point. So I think he can probably medical red shirt, come back in 2026 and have that year and go to the 2027 NFL draft, and be drafted. So, but yeah, I think losing him was a big loss for that offense, right? You lose Tez Johnson, different things they lost Terrence Ferguson. They lost
tight end. Yep.
They lost playmakers, man.
Both tackles, Dylan Gabriel, right? Like this, like there was a lot.
They lost a lot. So it's like I expect them to run the ball. I think Makai Hughes going up. They got my guy, one of my guys I talked about during the season last year, from Nevada, big 6'8" offensive tackle Isaiah World. He transfers up to Oregon, and this guy is a powerful dude. They're going to be able to run the football. So I think his skill set's going to translate, and he's going to do well. I think this is a guy that he has the ability to me to be a day 2 pick in the NFL draft at the running back spot. And I think this is going to be like, I think people were expecting a drop off after the running back class we just experienced. Mm-hmm. Not so fast, my friends. Not so fast. Like, we're about to see another talented running back group.
Yeah, and DP, I think this puts more onus too on this draft process, right? Because we are here to not only talk about NFL draft prospects, but through the lens of helping guide this because of the transfer portal, right? So we're kind of guys, boots on the ground, identifying these prospects and saying, hey, this guy went here, he's going to be pretty good, right? So just saying a 2-lane transfer may not ring a lot of bells, but if we tell you this guy has a lot of talent and now he's going to be at Oregon, doing the same things he did at Tulane, then you're talking about potentially a pretty high draft pick. But DP, let's wrap this thing up, man, with the playmaker. This guy has had over 1,500 all-purpose yards. Pitt running back Desmond Reed. We're going to talk about him coming up next.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Keith, you said it. He is a playmaker for those Pittsburgh Panthers. Desmond Reed, 236 touches last year. Like you said, over 1,500 yards, 1,548 yards total yards from scrimmage, 9 total touchdowns. Keith, I'm going to go ahead and throw a comp out there right out the gate. Dion Lewis, he was 5'8". He was a little heavier. Dion Lewis was 5'8", 195 pounds. Desmond Reed is listed at 5'8", 175. You know what I mean? So he's a little bit thinner, a little bit leaner. He's almost built like Tutu Atwell at running back. You know what I mean? Like that slim, like slender, thin build. But this dude, like his floor at the end of the day is going to be a third down, pass catching, move the chains type of target. They get the ball to him a lot in space.
I was going to jump in. What about, and this is kind of crazy that I even have to think about saying this. It's kind of a throwback name a little bit. Darren Sproles. How do you feel about him? Because I watched the punt return and I thought about that, and I was like, he has a little bit of that squatty build, in my opinion, with the thick lowers, right? Like, and Darren might have been even a little bit more thicker, but I agree with you just from the role perspective. And Darren, of all the really specific and usage backs, Darren might be the best, right? Like if there's a hall of fame for like smaller, shifty backs, right, that you want to do different things, punt return, that can run the football, change of pace backs, right? He should go in the Hall of Fame for that, right? Like he was one of the better ones, and he was constantly overlooked for his size, I think, by fan and media because nobody took it serious. But you ask the New Orleans Saints, the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Those teams, they'll talk about just how valuable he was. And you respected him when your team played him, right? So you might have been like, just a little small back from Kansas State. But when your team played him and he scored 2 touchdowns against you, you kind of had your head your head in your hand, right? Like I can't believe it. So you definitely like
your team. When you saw that Darren Sproles was starting, you're like, all right, man. Like we got
what's gonna happen?
Third downs. Like we know where the ball's going. Like if we got everything blanketed downfield, I don't want my linebacker in space. That's all I don't want my linebacker in space. And I think, that's a good comp for him too. And Darren Sproles has been down the poster child for those that type of archetype at running back, right? Everybody's been looking like, man, who's going to be the next Darren Sproles? And he's just been that type of outlier where it's like, I did everything. I pass blocked, I ran between the tackles, I ran outside the tackles, I handle punt and kick return duties. I was outstanding receiver. And usually all it takes is for an offensive coordinator or offensive minded coach to buy in on how to use that player and put them in that role and just see what happens. And when you unleash guys like that on your starting defense in practice and your starting defense is getting cooked, it's like, you know what, we might have something. We might have something here. And I think with Desmond Reed, like we know what the quarterback that he has, Eli Holstein. This is another guy we talked about, about a month. I feel like about a month ago, seems like, or trending towards a month ago, like at the beginning of the summer scouting. Eli Holstein got NFL talent. He can play, and this is a team that's going to be very competitive in the ACC. And Desmond Reed's going to be a big part of that, man. And his ability to run the ball, and even though he is let's say 175, he runs hard. Like it's not a guy that just like, okay, yeah, like he's gonna dip out of bounds. No, like he runs hard. Like, so he's gonna lower his shoulder. He's gonna take contact. He's smart with it. He's not gonna like put himself in position to get like just completely blown up in like big kill shots. But he picks and chooses his moments and his spots well. So it shows high football IQ to understand self-awareness is key. That you are undersized, a little bit of an undersized player. So it's like,
essential for life. Essential for life.
Essential for life. It's one of them gems. You either know it or you either got it or you don't. Right? You got to have self-awareness to know how to navigate. And he understands how to do that, man. So I think this is a guy, again, in this running back class where you're going to see bigger body guys. You know what I mean? Where even like we talk about Makai Hughes, like he's 5'10", 210. You know what I mean? A thicker, stronger build. And Jeremiyah Love, 6 foot, 215. We're going to talk about Nicholas Singleton, you know what I mean, coming up. Him and Katron. Katron's like 225, 230. Nick Singleton's like 220. You know, like these guys, he's going to be the one that stands out a little bit differently. And you know who also I think he has I don't think he goes as late as this guy, as long as he has another good season. Rashard Smith. Remember, Rashard Smith was transferred, like a transition from receiver to running back. He went like round 7 to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I dare anybody, like, don't sleep on that addition. He might have gone late, but I believe Andy Reid's gonna get the ball to this young man.
Yeah, he's gonna make some teams pay.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna be at some point during this 25 season. We're gonna be like, he had 110 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Like, who could have seen that coming, right? Like, I think that type of situation we could see Desmond Reed, but I think he gets drafted a little bit earlier. And honestly, I think with Brashard, he probably got drafted that late also because of the running back class he was in. It was like 35 running backs.
And I think we've said this before. Like, if you do a redraft, DP, some of the guys that went in the 7th round are going to go in the 4th round. Some of the guys that went in the 5th round are going to go in the 7th round, just because they were just so many backs that and I know for us, right, just evaluating them, we was like, man, okay, how do we even rank these guys?
Rank them, yeah. How do you come with the top 10?
Yeah, it wasn't even about ranking them. It was about putting them in buckets of what do they do, because it wasn't just you had 8 power backs, you had 8 right all-purpose backs, you had another 8 guys that you think are just utility backs that can do it all. So you can't even really rank these guys, because how do you put this kind of special usage back over this power back? But this power back it was crazy. Last year was crazy. So I agree.
Desmond Reed he's that prototypical satellite back to me. Like that he's that guy that team. I mean, granted, RJ Harvey's with Sean Payton, but if he wasn't, this would have been a Sean Payton's pick, in my opinion, in 2026, 100%. Adding him, like if he had drafted like a Caleb Johnson or a Jordan James is like that, between the tackles type runner, and you wanted that pass catcher, it would have been Desmond Reed. Like, we would have fast forward to 2026 draft, hear him go to the Broncos and be like, he's got his Darren Sproles. He's got that pass catcher in this offense, and Bo Nix is the type of quarterback that would feed him with targets, because Bo Nix likes to get the ball out quick, check it down, hit the underneath, and let guys go make plays. Desmond Reed, watch out for him, guys. In the ACC, he's going to make plays. He did pretty well, when I was watching I think it was the Clemson game. He had 10 carries for 108 yards, and the type of talent that Clemson has defensively.
Yep.
He still made plays.
Yeah, because he can make people miss, DP. And one of the better things I've seen from him, I think it was a run play. It was almost probably outside zone, right? Like, he was out of shotgun, and it was, like the track was outside, and he cut against the grain, hit a jump cut, and took it all the way backside. Right now, I was like, yep, I like to see that.
Was
right?
that the Clemson game?
It might have been. I think it might have been.
If not, he had a similar run like that against Clemson, where I was like, he just like he got lost because he's smaller on tape, and I just was like, where did he? And then next thing you know, you see him pop out of the mush and the backside. I'm like, how did he? I was like, you know what? You got it, boss. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't question it.
Yep, 100% with DP. That wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we're going to go to Penn State for the running backs, Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen. We're going to talk about those two guys who are in the same backfield. Who's the better running back out of the two? We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.